Monday, December 11th, 2023, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So today, we're going to look at why the BRICS nations, even if they do bring about some kind of gold-backed trading currency, it doesn't mean that the people of those countries are going to become economically free and politically free. And we're going to refer to a book I bought recently. It's not a new book, and it talks about that. Before we do, though, just wanted to go through some of the headlines this morning. We're hearing a lot in the mainstream press here in the UK and in the US as well. FT is reporting here, dollar strengthens against Asian currencies as China's deflation deepens. Well, what do I think about that? Well, I think it's rubbish. The reason they're saying China is in deflation is because the CPI fell by 0.5% year on year in China, the latest data. Well, I keep in touch with some people in Hong Kong and even in China, and they're telling me, food prices are not going down in China, for example. And the other thing as well, if you've listened to me over the years, you know that the CPI is not deflation or inflation, be it up or down. What really is inflation is the increase in the money supply and credit. So just thought I'd bring this up. The China money supply M3, yes, it's kind of topping a little bit here, but that's happened many times before. But the trend, as you can see, is up. So much for that. And why do they push this agenda, this narrative of deflation? Well, because in the fiat currency system, the powers that be, the mainstream press that represents the powers that be, the central banks, they want people to think that there is deflation so they can keep inflating and robbing your currency of its purchasing power. So I just wanted to put that out there. This week will be important in terms of central banking news. We've got the Fed. I think is it on Wednesday? I think the FOMC, the last day of the FOMC. You can see here, FT, central banks prepared to rebuff investors over path of interest rates. U.S. Fed, ECB, BOE meet this week as strong labor data suggests. Policy pivot unlikely. Bank of England lags behind peers in battle to curb inflation. Investors warn. Powell under pressure to set out plan for U.S. interest rate cuts. So there's a lot of uncertainty, I would say, in regards to central banking policy, in regards to what investors are expecting. So let's get back to the main topic here. And a lot of people think that BRICS, for example, the fact that I cover it and many others cover it, that we think those countries are going to become great places to go and live, or that their economies are going to do well, even though I think their economies will do well. But ultimately, I personally don't think, knowing how the Russians, Chinese, and some other countries in the bloc, like Brazil now under a socialist government, I don't think it necessarily means they're going to get small government. It doesn't mean that they're going to get political or economic freedom. And even political freedom, I mean, I could care less having political freedom. And by that, I mean the political party game. I think the important thing in a free society is to have economic freedom. Freedom of right to the freedom of property, having your property and it not being taken away by the state. And by taken away, I mean taxation. Freedom of the individual to do whatever he or she wants. Of course, barring, them committing a real crime like killing someone, stealing, committing fraud. Just those very serious crimes, and also cutting red tape and regulation. Pretty much what Milei has been saying he's going to do. We'll have to wait and see if he does. So, yeah, I don't think just the fact that it looks like they might adopt some kind of gold-backed trading currency doesn't mean, like Saudi Arabia is going to go, libertarian, or the UAE or the Russians or the Chinese. I don't see that by any stretch of the imagination. And why am I covering this? Well, because having gold in a system, monetary system, is usually associated with economic freedom. Warren Buffett's father, Howard Buffett, who was a congressman from Nebraska, he spoke in 1948 about this. I'm going to put a link to what he said below in the description. And even Alan Greenspan, and you might not like Alan Greenspan, he said that gold is anathema to statists' objectives. It hinders them because it doesn't allow them to spend and do whatever they want. It gives them discipline. So why do I think that could be the case for the BRICS, that they're not going to allow their population to be free economically, politically, if you want to call it too? Well, The War on Gold, that's a book by Anthony Cyril Sutton, or Anthony C. Sutton. It was written a long time ago, I think probably back in the 70s or early 80s. But on page 63, he's talking about this discipline of gold, and this is what he says. As in Law's time, current political economic ideas such as Keynesianism, which require the surrender of individual economic power and sovereignty, work best in totalitarian societies, and they require the elimination of gold as a medium of exchange to be effective. Keynes himself pointed out this relationship in an understandably little-known preface to the German edition of his General Theory. And this was in around 1936, this book came out. And this is Keynes, what he said in the preface. The theory of aggregate production, nevertheless, can be much easier adapted to the conditions of the total state than the theory of production and distribution of a given production put forth under conditions of free competition and a great amount of laissez-faire. The Nazi state, which Keynes had in mind when writing the above preface, also declared war on gold. In this instance, it came as the final stage in the proposed Nazi program of world domination rather than as a preliminary step. On July 25, 1940, Reichsbank President Walter Funk outlined the Hitlerite New Economic Order and asserted that the U.S. gold stock in Fort Knox, then valued at $20 billion, would become worthless. There is a remarkable parallel between this Nazi effort to establish a world order with 5 or 6 regional economies and the present effort pushed by the Jimmy Carters and trilateralists in the U.S. to achieve a new world order with regional groupings. Well, I think that's unfortunately the way things are going. The assault on gold today is an integral part of a planned move into a new economic order under the dominance of a single country. It was Nazi Germany in the 1940s. It is the United States in the 1970s. In brief, The war on gold that we observe today and discuss below is dollar imperialism designed to maintain the US dollar as the only world currency without competitors. The purpose is the foundation of a world totalitarian state under Wall Street dominance. The so-called dictatorship of the proletariat in the Soviet Union has taken an eminently practical, practical approach to gold. And this is where it comes in here. Although gold was condemned by Lenin as a worthless relic to capitalism, fit only to be used for lining toilets, his successor, Stalin, recognized the contribution of the 1849 California gold rush to American industrial development. According to reputable reporters, Stalin decided to introduce the same gold mechanism to advance Soviet socialism. While today gold is absolutely forbidden to Soviet citizens, Russian newly mined gold is a major means of purchasing the foreign policy technology that is vitally needed to shore up the inefficient economy and to expand the military power of the USSR. In 1975, while the US was embarked on an anti-gold crusade, the Soviet Union confirmed its faith in gold for its own external use by issuing the first gold coin since 1923. The reissue of the Chevronet's 10 ruble piece with 0.2489 troy ounces of fine gold was available for foreign purchase only. The eminently practical Soviets have found gold to be a double-edged weapon to build a totalitarian society and to advance Soviet-style imperialism. Internally, the sovereignty inherent in gold is denied to the Russian people. Externally, the universal acceptance of gold is used to purchase technology and food to overcome the internal deficiencies of an unfree society. So there you go. Some of you might argue, and it's a good point, that even the Chinese now, the communist Chinese, they're encouraging the public to buy gold. Does that mean they want the public to be freer? Not necessarily. I think it's more of a way to help them defend the purchasing power of their currencies because of the currency that they hold, because they know what's coming. I'm not convinced the Chinese leadership or even the Russian leadership are freedom-loving libertarians, nor is Lula in Brazil. You know, I heard he wants to push people into having that thing if they want to keep having welfare benefits, even though, you know, once you accept welfare benefits, you have to be prepared to be under the thumb of the state. So there you go. As I said, it doesn't necessarily mean that the BRICS or BRICS Plus are going to become freedom-loving libertarians just because they use gold. They could use it more as an external instrument to help their trading amongst each other and other countries. But yeah, it would be nice though if they became more libertarian leaning, but I wouldn't hold my breath. So with that, let's quickly look at where the markets are this morning. So it's 8:24 a.m. London time. We've got spot gold. It's testing that 2000 level and it's just below there. It's at 1997. It's down $7. The high's been 2008. The low 1991. Silver actually is up slightly. It's up 6 cents at 23.05. The low's been 22.90 and the high 23.12. The Dow futures is down 25. The Nasdaq 100 futures down 37 points and the S&P future is down 5 points, just below 4,600. To the currencies, We'll cover the yen just today. The other currencies are pretty much unchanged. Well, the yen now or the dollar is up 0.75%. So the dollar has been rebounding versus the yen. And why is that? Well, there was some weak economic data from Japan last Thursday. GDP fell by more than expected. It was negative as well for the third quarter this year. And some people are kind of realizing the comments made by the Bank of Japan governor at a speech was probably not that hawkish. So the dollar dropped a lot, down to like 145, but now we're at 146. So that's what's happening there. The yuan is, or the dollar is at 719. So the dollar is rebounded. I read that it's at a 3-month low, the yuan, and the dollar at a 3-month high. But it's still pretty much in the range, because I think the recent high was above 730. So to the other currencies, let's see what the Aussie dollar is doing. Well, the Aussie dollar is down about just over 0.25%, 65.57. Dollar is unchanged versus the loonie, 135.90. And the Kiwi dollar is down about 0.2 at 61.09. Let's check the commodities markets. WTI crude is up almost 1%, trading just below 72. And Brent crude is the same, up about 1% at 76.50. Platinum is up $5, trading around 925. And high-grade copper is down about 1/3 at 382. Let's quickly look at the 10-year yield. Yes, on Friday, 10-year yield rose a little bit because we had stronger than expected jobs data. And this morning we're up 2 basis points, around 427. I think we got down to around 414 or 412. So I guess the big events for this week for the markets are going to be the central bank meetings. You heard earlier, we've got the Fed, the ECB, and the Bank of England. So with that, I'm going to wish you all a very good day. Take care. Bye.